just preparing. Okay. Please go ahead, Councillor Cordia.
Right. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. I'm really sorry we got delayed because of technical problems we are facing at the moment. So welcome to today's hearing. My name is Councillor Harbhajan Cordia, and I shall be chairing the meeting. My colleagues are Councillor Munro, who is substituting Councillor Anand, and Councillor Kumar, and I comprise today's subcommittee. I would like to ask all of you to introduce yourselves, please. Thank you.
I'm Andrea Forrest. Would you like me to go first?
Yes, please, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Andrea Forrest from Forrest Solicitors, representing the applicant Pratap Pakiraja.
Right, okay.
Good morning, Chair. You've got PC Kerry Smart, Police Licensing Officer. Sorry, good afternoon, rather.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, PC Kerry Smart.
Good afternoon, Chair. I'm PC Vicky Hewison, Police Licensing Team.
Right.
And Bob Deere, Licensing Compliance and Enforcement Officer, Ealing Council.
Thank you.
Afternoon. Afternoon, I'm Angela Garcher. I'm the Licensing Processing Team Leader.
Sorry, your name is?
Angela Garcher.
Garcher, right. Thanks, Angela. Who is next? Who else is here?
It is me, Pradap, applicant for the off license and convenience store.
Thank you, Mr. Pakiraja. Yeah. And is Mr. Rushton here? No, he's not coming, sorry.
No.
Yeah, yeah. And anyone else?
Hadoon's legal advisor to the panel.
Thanks, Haiti. I think we were expecting another business partner of Mr. Pakiraja, Mr. Yanusik.
Me, Tanuchigan Rajeswaran.
You are here, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I will tell you the procedure of the proceedings. I will invite the licensing officer to introduce the report and provide clarification of any factual issues. Then I'll invite the applicant to present the application, answer any questions, and call any witnesses. Then I'll invite those who have made representations or objections to make their representations, answer any questions, and call any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and the democratic services officers, will retire to consider its decision. Then the decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed in writing within 5 working days. If the panel cannot reach a decision today, we will be notified in writing within 5 working days of the panel's decision. So this is the procedure of our proceedings today of this subcommittee. Now I will invite the presenting licensing officer to introduce the application.
Hello, good afternoon. The applicant, Mr. Pratap Pakiraja, has applied for a new premises license for Hanwell Convenience, located at 159 Uxbridge Road, Hanwell, London W7 3P. And the application proposed the following, which was to supply alcohol off sales Monday to Sunday, 7 a.m. to 2300 hours, and the hours premises are open to the public Monday to Sunday, 6 a.m. to 2300 hours. This application attracted representations from the Metropolitan Police and the Licensing Authority, which remain unresolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I will invite the applicant to present his case, please.
Thank you. I think just before I start presenting the case, there's a couple of issues. Well, not issues. Mr. Rushton, the consultant who put in the application on behalf of Pratap, well, I'll refer to him as Pratap to make things a little easier for everyone. He did have discussions with the police, as I understand it, and there have been a couple of changes. I'm not sure that you've received this information, but first of all, there are some added conditions to the operating schedule which was submitted initially. That was robust in itself, but there are further conditions after discussions with the police and re-examining the council's licensing policy statement. I can give those to you later as I'm presenting the case. Sorry.
Yes, Ms. Forrest, yes. I must say that I should have declared it that we have received these papers yesterday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would like to ask all panel members if you have the whole package of this report as well as yesterday's new proposed licensing conditions.
Yes, I have.
Yes, we do.
You all have, yeah?
Yes.
All right, thank you
Yes.
very much. Now you can carry on.
Chair, thank you. Thank you. Can I also ask that you're aware of the amended hours for the sale of alcohol?
No, we haven't seen those.
Okay, so just to confirm then, following discussions again with the police and Mr. Rushton, we have agreed to amend the hours to the core hours that the policy statement recommends.
All right. So core hours are from what time to what time?
Now you're asking.
Yeah. No, it will be clear for the whole panel.
Yes, of
I
course.
know what they are.
Do bear with me, and can I come back to you on that one if you don't mind?
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the policy statement, but I assumed you would probably know. I wrongly assumed. I shouldn't have assumed that.
No, we know that.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. 0800 hours to 2300 hours, Monday to Saturday, and 10 o'clock till 22:30 on a Sunday. I do apologise.
These hours. So
yes, those are also the conditions that the police put forward that they would satisfy them. And I understand, I'm sure the police will put their case, but I understand that this was agreed with Mr. Rushton and they seem happy about the conditions going forward.
All right, okay.
I'm sure they will confirm that themselves though.
All right, yeah. Okay.
May I carry on, Madam Chair? Thank you.
Yes, please carry.
So my client, Pratap, has applied for a premises licence. He knows it's in an area where the council have introduced a special policy. He's fully aware of what this means and that it is much more difficult to obtain a licence in an area such as this due to the issues in the area and the reasons for the policy having been brought in. And he knows that the council and the police work tirelessly to put these policies in place and why they're there. So he's aware of that the authorities have concerns about the street drinkers also. But what he's saying is that once the shop is open and there are like people present, there are people working in the shop and in and around the area, this may actually help to deter those people from sitting on the benches drinking outside, as there will be CCTV cameras outside which do reach as far as those benches. So if anything, it will assist the police in their operation. They will be watched, these people, and there will be notices saying that there's CCTV in the area. So anybody who does decide to hang around on these benches, I think this shop being here would be a benefit rather than the alternative. So we know that there's another shop that's gone to a hearing and the licence has been revoked. Understand it's now trading on appeal. Not that this concerns my client's licence, but just to say that this is one less bad operator in the area being replaced with a good and professional operator, which I will come to later. He's aware, having worked in the licensed retail trade for a lot of years, that these conditions on the licence, which he's put forward on his operating schedule, plus the additional conditions, must be adhered to. He's fully aware of that. There's no intention of breaching those conditions. He knows what can happen. So I'll come back to the conditions in a moment, but he's aware that the police can, or anyone can, bring a review against his licence if it were to be granted. And he does welcome intervention and sanctions where operators aren't operating properly. So if the licensing authority is looking to put a lid on applications due to the special policy area, then I would say that getting rid of a bad one and putting a good one in is a positive thing. So in terms of the applicant himself, he's the applicant for the premises licence and the proposed DPS. He's a family man with 2 children, aged 13 and 4 years old. He's an experienced operator and runs a very solid business in the licensed trade. He has other premises, some which are located within this local authority area. And again, I'll come back to those and I'll mention them after. He's had a personal licence. This was issued by the London Borough of Hillingdon since 2015. He's been in London since around 2002. He knows the area very well and he's worked in London since 2002, 2003. And he currently lives in Hayes, which is about 6 miles away from the shop. So his intention, obviously to build up the business, is to be in the shop on a daily basis. He has put a significant amount of money into this venture and he's taken on a 15-year lease. So he's no intention of like hoping to get a license granted and then just passing it on to someone else who isn't going to be as upstanding as he is. He's intending on staying here. So he has a vast amount of experience. He worked in Marks and Spencer's and he's worked in Tesco stores prior to having his own stores. And he's been involved with the sale of alcohol and was trained by them in around 2012, 2014. And he's worked in a number of shops around London, including shops in Acton, Staines and Harrow, as I said, since about 2003, since he was 18 years old, actually. The premises that he has, 2 of them in Ealing, there's 2 South Ealing Road and Local Wines, 133 The Vale in Acton. And then he has a premises in Staines and Ivor, and also in the London Borough of Harrow. So the point is that he's already got 2 premises in this area. So if there were any issues with him and the way he operates, the authorities would know about it. It would have been brought to their attention. And nothing's been put forward about that. And I've spoken to my client this morning and he said he's got no problems with the authorities, never has had. So the shop itself, it has CCTV. In fact, there are, let me just check, 8 cameras. It's a very small shop, but there are 8 cameras, 2 of which are outside. And as I said earlier, they will be able to focus on the area that seems to be a problem. Now, his shop is going to be a convenience store predominantly, and also doing money transfers, like a Western Union, and mobile repairs as well. So that the main part of his business is not alcohol. That would only amount to about 15%. And actually, he has stocked up already on the other products. So you would be able to see how much stock is in there in terms of what he's got left space for alcohol, which is very small. And what he also said is that the shop was closed, he thinks, for more than 6 months, where it was a flower shop before, as we know. And lately, while he's been around, he noticed that the street drinkers were there initially, but whilst he's been in the shop and they've been carrying out works, it's not been as bad. Let me get back to where I was. So the CCTV system also has the ability to retain images of up to 3 months. Now, the norm for CCTV images is, well, the requirement is normally about 30 to 31 days from the authorities. So it is quite an extensive CCTV system. And you'll have seen a copy of the application already at pages 7 to 24 of your bundle. And then the extensive operating schedule at pages 25 to 28, now amended. Also, there are some examples of due diligence documents which will be in operation at the store. Can I just confirm that you've had the due diligence documents as well, please, Chair?
I think
it may not be numbered.
Chair,
maybe
Chair, I've read them. I've gone through them.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes, I have as well.
I haven't received those. I haven't seen those. No.
Right, they sort of start with this a personal guide to selling alcohol and things. There's a DPS authorization, a Crime Stoppers leaflet, things like that. Have you not seen those?
Chair,
They are.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was not in the agenda pack, but it was emailed yesterday. I think it was emailed.
Oh, those.
Today.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Those
support
ones.
bundle.
Yeah. Those are with the proposed license conditions. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for confirming that, Chair.
Sorry for the confusion.
It's okay. So as I say, there are these the operating schedule itself. If you turn to page 26, halfway down. Sorry, near the bottom, I do apologise, near the bottom, it starts, the premises shall operate a strict alcohol refusals policy and alcohol will not be sold to. And then it gives you several numbers of groups of people that it won't be sold to. And obviously one of them is a person who is drunk because it's against the law to do that anyway. But also you'll see at number 2, a person to be found drinking in the street. And at number 1, a person identified as a street drinker, regardless of their level of inebriation. So they have no intention of serving these street drinkers. In fact, the alcohol that they're going to be selling isn't going to be attractive to street drinkers because it's 5.5, it's under 5.5%. It does say in the original conditions 6.5%, but that's now amended. So in the due diligence documents sent from us yesterday, and I do apologise for the tardiness of these documents, they've got a personal guide to selling alcohol well, it's at the front of mine, but I do apologise, I don't know if it's at the front of yours, but it's a few pages long. And what that is, every person gets this personal guide to selling alcohol and they all have to make sure that they've read and understand it, everyone in the shop. And they have one of these each. And then once they've read and understood it, they sign a declaration to say they've done so. There's also in the pack, at the back of the personal guide to selling alcohol, there's other age restricted products and a list of what they are. There's the refusals policy, which is a poster that will be in the shop and says any person recognised or identified as a street drinker, regardless of their level of inebriation at the time, won't be served, basically. And it repeats what I said already, but this is a poster that will go in the shop. There's things such as, I won't go through every document because I won't insult your intelligence and I won't take up all of your time, but just to say that this is a due diligence bundle. I, as a solicitor, put together the bundle. You'll notice my logo on the bottom of the personal alcohol licence document. I put together these due diligence documents and I put together a comprehensive folder together with Mr. Rushton. We worked together quite a lot. And these due diligence folders are offered as part of the service. So they will have a full due diligence bundle showing what training is required, when it's required, all these documents that you've seen today and more, including a litter check policy, an incident log, and things like that. So, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions on those later. So my client has a good support network, and he always works with the authorities with any of his stores in all of the locations. Mr. Russian provides consultancy, not just assisting with the application, but also ongoing compliance. And I'm asked to come in where I'm needed. So he has a professional licensing team on speed dial, if you like, to assist him at any point. We also go in doing checks in premises and making sure their compliance is ongoing, giving ongoing advice as well. So you know about the new conditions, which include not stocking any beers, lagers or ciders over 5.5%. All of the products must be clearly marked. No single can sales or bottles, lager, cider or ale or spirit mixers at the premises. No sales of spirits in miniature sizes. And alcohol stored in the premises must securely be stored behind lockable shutters or a suitable stock room, and the aisles and the floor areas should be kept clear, and all alcohol should be stored for sale in or on the shelving and or cabinets, it says here. So basically they're very, very rigid conditions, and he knows that he has to abide by these conditions. These are actually suggested in your licensing policy statement also. So if the license is granted, all these conditions will be placed on the license. That's 35 conditions. And if any one of them are breached, the authorities will be in a position to bring the license to review. So it's in my client's interest to comply with those. These are offered conditions together with the mandatory conditions and any conditions you may deem necessary today. So just to remind you, he has a 15-year lease. This is about him. It's not about buying the shop and putting somebody else in and not running it properly. So prior to the application then, or during the application stage, Mr. Rushton, the consultant, did attempt to have conversations with the police and the licensing authority putting the representations. The police were very engaging, thank you very much, and were very helpful. And as per the guidance, is what is crucial in any application process is excellent and collaborative communication with the local community, the police and other responsible authorities. We always work in this way where we try and approach the authorities before any application or any hearing. As I understand it, PC Hewison agreed that if the committee had this conversation with Ian, so I'll let her confirm that for you, if the committee were minded to grant the licence, then she would be happy with the conditions thus far. We also, or should I say, Mr. Rushton also approached the licensing authority, Mr. Deere, and despite several attempts trying to contact him to have a discussion about this and try and engage in conversation, he never actually received a response. So I'm sure Mr. Deere can elaborate on that for us. Just bear with me. So I've given you information about the applicant himself. You know about the amendments to the timings and the core times. You've seen the robust operating schedule, etc. I believe that there's enough evidence to rebut the presumption here in a special policy area. And I don't think my client will not only not add to the cumulative impact and the issues in the area, but it'll be a positive addition. And in doing so, it will help in terms of him being there, him knowing the area, him not afraid to speak to people and ask them to move on, and also having the cameras outside. We are aware of a PSPO in use, but I'm not sure how many people have been moved on by the police or, where the alcohol is causing a problem. I haven't seen any evidence of that yet. I haven't seen any evidence of where the people are buying these drinks from. I understand they're sitting outside the shops, but it needs to be attributed to certain shops. And in my opinion, those are the shops that should be dealt with, and not stopping someone from getting a new license. A CIP area or a special policy area is not the end of the matter. So it's not a case of, well, we can't grant it because it's in a CIP area. It should never be absolute, and the guidance states this at 14.44. If the applicant rebuts the policy, it's appropriate for you, the committee, to depart from the guidance, and that's what it says. In other words, if the applicant has satisfied you that he will not add cumulative impact in the area, you must consider granting the licence. Even where there's a special policy, if there are no objections to it, it would automatically be granted anyway, which I'm sure you're aware of. So in addition to this, none of the residents have taken the time to write in or even notify the council that they wish to object to the application, despite a mention of that in one of the police officer's statements, that lots of residents have complained that there's nothing to stop them writing in or to give their names to the licensing authority to say, look, we have an issue with this. I haven't seen any evidence of that. So it's clear from the statement, the witness statement, that the residents don't have a problem voicing their concerns. However, they haven't in this application. Just to sum up, I do think that what we've given you today so far with the due diligence package, the client's experience, knowledge of running licensed premises, the fact that he's got premises in the area, no issues with your authority, else these would have been highlighted. Consider this application on its own merits, please. Consider that the police have agreed conditions. Consider that we've tried to discuss it with the licensing authority but haven't been successful, and that the client has a lot of experience in the retail trade. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anyone who want to speak?
Hello, yes, can I ask a couple of questions to the applicant, please?
Sure.
How are you going to manage the street drinking problem?
Who's asking to the applicant?
It's the police, sorry.
It's the police. Right.
Can I assist with that, please?
Hello.
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 Hi. Actually, overcome to. I got the personal license, mean that all the rules, and I'm not even regularly. I'm working on the counter. I know how I want to serve the customers, like whoever coming underage, and maybe they wrong people. They even I'm away to sell the people who sitting on the street, and because all day I'm around that area. Then somebody sitting in front of my shop, then they want to come and buy the beer. Then I'm not going to sell it. Another one. Whoever sitting on the area, they buying single can. I'm not allowed to sell the single can. I'm not going to sell to them. Then they're not possible to come and buy the beer from my shop. The main things, I can't sell the single cans. Whoever sitting over there, they're buying only single cans. Another one, I'm not allowed to sell the miniatures. The street people ring most of the miniatures.
Sorry, I'm in a meeting.
On that point, I think I believe my side. I can because I don't want to do my side mistake also. I don't want to lose my license. Then I can keep even whoever work for me. It is my missus also going to help me. She got the personal license as well. Suppose I want to put one staff, then without personal license, I'm not going to take. Even I'm not going to give the training. I'm going to get the personal license and employ somebody for my counter. On that point, I believe from my side, I'm not going to do any mistake, even by mistake also.
Okay. How many members of staff are you going to have in the shop?
On one time, madam, 2 people going to run the shop. Even I'm living in Hayes. from my home is close to just past the Southall. Then it is Hanwell next to Ealing Hospital. Then maybe me and one of my friend and my missus, 3 people going to run the shop and 2 people on one time on the shop.
Okay, so there's going to be 2 people all the time in the shop when it's open, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, I've got no further questions. Thank you.
One more.
Yes, Mr.
Chair, Chair, I have a couple of questions, if possible, please. Bob Deere from the council.
Rob there, yes, yes, please carry on. Yeah.
Can the applicant or his solicitor tell us what 2 shops he has in South Ealing Road, please?
Do you want me to answer that? I did actually give those addresses out before.
Number 2 South Ealing
It's
Road.
got number 2 South, yes, sorry, number 2 South Ealing Road and Ealing Local Wines 133 The Vale, Acton.
Oh, sorry, I mistook. I thought you said there's 2 in it, South Ealing. How long has he had the local in 133 The High Street in Acton?
From 2008.
So, and obviously I haven't put the names to the premise, I'm afraid, but I've actually visited your shop before. I don't know if you can remember that.
Sorry,
and I found some security tags off spirit bottles behind your counter that have been cut off. And in fact, you never phoned me that time and contacted me back after I spoke to you to come into the offices here in Ealing.
Yeah, that is, I remember, sir. You know what happened on that time. I tried to contact whoever is I explained. You can see on that time, I'm working for the guy who is there is Rajeswaran. After that only, from 2008 to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, up to 15, I'm working for them. Then after that only, I'm take over the shop. I'm working there only. In recently only, I take the shop from him.
So when did you take the shop from him?
The right date I don't know, but I can check on my from my lease work. But from 2018 or something only, I get the shop because the guy running the shop, whoever guy is.
So can I just intervene, Chair, please? This is not about that shop. This is about this new application, and this is new evidence that he's not mentioned this before. I don't think it's.
Excuse me, Chair.
Sorry, Chair.
Nobody has mentioned this applicant has had other premises in our borough. That has just come to my notice today. It's a question: does he remember when I found security tags in his premises last year? And I've lost my video, so I don't know if you can see me.
No, I can't see you.
No,
But
I can.
I think
we can see you.
Right. I think, Mr. Deere, I think we have the same. I was astonished to hear from the solicitor, Ms. Forrest, that the applicant has already 2 premises in our borough, but they haven't mentioned in the licensing report anywhere else. It was a really bit surprise to us as well. Yeah.
And Chair, if we're talking about being a great, experienced licensee with other premises, I think it's very relevant we know. And also, if we found cut security tags in his off license in Acton last year, I think that's very relevant to his experience.
I don't think it's relevant to this. I really don't. I'm sorry, but I think you need to take legal advice on this, Chair.
Sorry, Chair, can I just intervene? I think.
Yeah, Councillor Monroe.
Sorry, the solicitor actually loaded the fact that this applicant is on other sites and his vast experience of running other licensed premises with no adverse impacts or any local authority issues with those premises. Now, I don't think the solicitor can now suddenly turn around and now say that we're not allowed to take into account what she raised in her submissions to us, that his experience showed that how good an operator he was. Now, some unfortunate information has come to light. I'm not sure she can now withdraw that into, inference that he's an experienced operator and he should know how to run a site.
Ms. Forrest?
Yeah, can I answer that? I mean, we did our research and my instructions are that there were no issues. I'm working off instructions. My instructions were that there were no issues. That's what my client said. However, I don't understand why your licensing officer didn't do his homework and look into other premises in your local authority and bring this to your attention prior. We didn't have to give you this information that my client has got all these premises. I'm just explaining to you that he has other premises. My instructions are that there have been no issues. So I'm not sure how far this went. And I think this is going above and beyond now.
Ms. Forrest, perhaps I can interview. It's Ms. Deb here. Chair, can I address you in relation to this?
Is it Haiti?
Yes, it is.
Yes, please carry on. Yeah.
In relation to the matters that has been raised, Ms. Forrest is correct that she is able to make representations on behalf of the applicant based on the instructions that she's provided, and that's the information that's been given to the panel. Mr. Deer is able to question that, but I don't think it's appropriate for Mr. Deer to go into incidents which are not in the agenda pack and haven't come before this panel today. I think that you've heard that Mr. Deer is suggesting that the record that Ms. Forrest has suggested on behalf of her applicant, that he may have queries in relation to that. But I would advise that we don't go into the details of those matters because they're not relevant for the purposes of you determining this application for this new premises. But you have heard what you've heard from him.
Thank you, Ms. Seb.
Right. Thanks, Hattie. Thank you very much for your clarification. Thank you. Mr. Deer, do you want to continue to ask more questions?
I'd like to disagree with the advice you've given because it's relevant. This premises, we're talking about a special priority area here where there's a presumption to refuse all new licenses. So anything relevant should be taken into consideration. So that's what I'd like to say. But I've got no other questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Can I just say, Chair, I do apologise, but I'm not very happy about Mr. Deer coming back and saying that. I mean, he's been given advice by the legal advisor. That should have been the end of it.
No, I think the advice was for the councillors, Ms. Forrest.
Chair, perhaps I suggest if we move on from this point now. Mr. Deer has made his comment. His comment is in regards to the cumulative impact and the history of a premises, which is not the subject of the application today, unless it's in the same area. I'm not entirely sure how that would be relevant for the purposes of this application. But in any event, as I've said, you've noted Mr. Deer's comments that he's made already, and I don't think we need to take them beyond that. So perhaps we can move on if anybody else has any questions, if Mr. Deer has finished his questions.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to ask Robert Deer if he's got any further question not related to the same question.
No, I've got no other questions, Chair. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I please ask a question? It's PC Kerry Smart.
Yes, basically. Yeah.
It's just to the applicant, really. I'm just wondering, I couldn't understand, or I didn't hear, sorry, whether he was going to be at the premise at all times when my colleague asked him how many people was working there. Because initially we were told that he was working there, but then he said it was his wife and someone else. I just need clarification on, is he going to be working there himself?
Can I answer that question for you? Because I've had this conversation with my client this morning. He will be working there. He hopes to be there every day. I mean, obviously you've got to have days off and what have you, and you might be poorly, but his intention is to be there every day. What he's saying is that his wife may be helping him in the shop. She's got a personal license. He will have another member of staff there as well.
Thank you. No more questions.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Any panel members, have you got any questions?
Yeah, sorry, Chair. Can I just ask
Yeah.
because if he's this applicant is running 2 or 3 other businesses, I don't know whether it was 2 or 3 because there was one in Harrow or Hillingdon as well. Who will run all these other businesses if he's here on this full time at this business?
Can I answer that question too,
Yep.
please?
Yes,
basically, if you look at for example, a pub company, many of the premises licenses are in the pub company's name, and they are in charge of all those premises, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the people who are at head office would be in the premises. So it doesn't matter how many premises you've got, as long as you've got a good structure in place and you've got a good management structure, it doesn't matter how many premises you actually own. That's a different thing. Does that answer your question?
Well, not really, because we've just been told that he'd be working there. And I've just asked the question, well, who else would be looking after his other premises?
Well, maybe he can answer that for you, but I know that he's got structure in place. So.
That's who I was asking. So,
Mr. Pakira,
I think the applicant's disappeared.
Mr. Pakira, are you still there? No.
Oh, Chair, we do need the applicant here.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for him too, so we do need him back.
Ms. Forrest, have you got his contact number? If you could call him, please.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've just got a message to say he's lost contact.
All right.
He's going to try and get on again.
All right, let's wait for him. Yeah. I don't know how long will it take. Shall we wait for the applicant? Have to wait, yeah.
He's arrived. He's arrived.
Right, good. Now, Councillor Manor, you can ask the same question to Mr. Pakira.
Yeah, sorry. Can I ask the applicant, you know, you have more than one premises, you have 2 or 3 different businesses. Who will run those businesses while you are full-time in this new business? You're muted. You're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry. Actually, the Staines one is only the lease is under my name. His business is not my one. It is my one of my. It is my one of relative family only running. His name Manisha. The premise, license and personal license and all the off license documents on her name, not my name. And only I have with me the South Ealing and Acton one. Even the South Ealing one I'm running main shop on number 2 South Ealing. Even the Hanwell one, we get it new one. It is going to Danushikan with me. He's going to run, and my missus going to take it, because my missus, before working on Ealing Hospital, she's lost the job. She's at the moment at home. That's why we're planning to get even we're not planning to open the off license. Only we're planning to open the convenience store only. Even then, Danishi can have some money transfer experience. He's working before with the RIA and Western Union money transfer there. That's why 3 people are there. That's why we're planning to take the shop. Then when we get the shop, only on that area, grocery and vegetable is already we planning to put, and we put some alcohol as well. Even on that area, they don't give the strong beers, but we don't mind. We don't eat also. Even the strong beer, whoever ring, even I don't want that customer in my shop. We can manage with the normal beers and wine.
Okay, so the stain shop is not yours, somebody else running it.
Yeah, it is. His
South
name is
Ealing Road,
Manisha.
South Ealing Road, you are running it?
Yeah, South Ealing Road, I'm running that. That shop was, it is going to be sale. It's ready to ready to sell. Is a paperwork is going process. If you want, I can show that the documents from my solicitor. The shop going to be on the last, the April lockdown. That time I'm very struggling to get the cash and this financial way I'm struggling. That time I decided to sell the shop. Then the paperwork is supposed to paperwork going to be finished. The reason is the delay. All the landlord solicitor are making delay. The guy going to buy the shop, he is living in Southall. My solicitor name is in Takar and Go in Southall. I'm already agreed to sell. Even I got the advance. The process only is going.
Okay, so you're selling the South Ealing. What about the Acton one? Who's going to run that one?
And Acton and Hanwell only we going to run it. I have two staff with me. One staff, his name is Kayansini. She got the license, personal license. I got the license, and another one, my Mrs. Go, and Tanisigan is already put the is studying for the license. Even I give the training for him. Even still he going to get the license as well for extra. We 4 personal license people are with me only. We're going to run 2 shop. Stand stop. I don't run. I don't go there. Even they take over only. Only they. Sorry, it's a connection. Okay. The only the lease only is under my name. The business or promise license or nothing is under my name.
Okay. And secondly, do you know what a special policy area is?
Sorry?
Do you know what a special policy area is?
Yeah, your special policy areas you mean the High Street you're talking about?
No, have you read what a special policy area is and what you have to do differently in a special policy area?
Can I explain to me, please? I can tell you what is that.
What special policy area? A cumulative impact zone. Okay, it doesn't matter. Thank you for that. That's all I needed to ask.
Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Councillor Kumar.
Okay, my question is also to Mr. Pakiraja. I know it may sound technical, but can you confirm you are over 18? Because the date of birth on the papers was missing, and I do look at everything rather carefully before I go ahead with them.
Yeah, I'm 34 years old.
Okay, thank you for that. My question is again on the staffing. I know that you've sent in the amended, the supplementary support documents as well, but I want to know particularly how many staff are you going to have daytime and evening at any one time? And I'm also in particular the monitoring of the CCTV. You stated that you will have staff who will be trained to monitor the CCTV. How many will be trained to use the CCTV system? So, there are 2 questions in one, but I do want a little bit more detail on this.
Yeah, it is a 8 CCTV camera is going to be, but only the small shop, 6 camera inside the shop and 2 camera for outside the shop. Even the camera is going to cover the bench area. Whoever sitting there is that people is cover that area as well. 3-month record we can keep it. 2 staff going to work all the day and night or morning. 2 staff going to be there permanently.
But you've said you will employ. Yeah, you said you'll employ staff according to obviously how busy it is and what the demand requires. But the way I read it in what you've said, it appears that you're going to have several staff at the premises, but you're now saying it's going to be just 2, and so those 2 will be there during the opening hours, and they will also be checking on the CCTV. They'll be checking on the regular checks that you've stated. They'll be making outside the premises to ensure that, you know, there's no litter or people who are loitering around are moved on. So, you know, I mean, do you envisage 2 people being able to comply with everything that you have stated?
Yeah, yes, I believe, madam, whatever the even one more thing I can tell you, madam, even we apply for the license for morning 8 to 23, yeah, on
We amended. We apply for 6 to 23.
6 to 23, we can even we can reduce hours to 8 to 23 also is fine
It's
for us
already
anyway.
reduced. Can I assist? It's already amended, Danu. It's already been amended.
Yeah.
No. In
Yeah,
that
see that, like,
instance, she asked a question. She asked a question. She said like 7 staff going to be work on our premises. In all the time, we're gonna put one whoever experience and hold the personal license, 1 staff, and 1 other staff we're gonna put on the flooring to cover.
Who
So
am I
calculating
speaking to?
me,
Can you
I'm Thanasigan speaking, which is I'm partner with Pradap Pakiraj. This premises is leased under my name.
Yeah.
It's on Pakiraja.
Can you continue? Because I couldn't see you. I could only hear you speaking.
Oh, sorry.
I haven't answered
now,
the question fully.
Your voice is breaking, dear.
Yeah, everybody's
Your
voice is breaking up.
Yeah, I can't hear you clearly. Anyway, your questions I understand. You request us how many staff you're gonna put in the premises. So
correct.
We plan, me and Pradap plan always, because it's a trouble area, making problem on the area. As a request of council, we plan to put whoever experience and personal license people, 1 staff for the till and serving customers. The other staff, we're planning to 2 shifts, which is in morning, and the other shift in the evening. So morning 1 staff like a normal staff, and the evening also like normal staff. So me, Pradap, and Pradap Miss is going to be make a shift like 2 days. Pradap going to be work for 3 days maybe. So that's the way we planning.
So how many permanent staff have you actually, are you actually going to employ? If you're sharing
we already got 2 staff. We already got 2 staff, but they're not gonna serve the customers.
I think I've lost you there. Yeah, they're not going to serve the customers.
It means they're gonna work for us on the flooring, filling, face upping, and everything. The customer serving is which is me, Pradap, and the Pradap Mrs.
And we are selling
the alcohol and serving the customers on the till.
Okay, and Mr. Pakiraja is the only DPS at the moment, yes?
Yeah.
Can I just add,
And
there can only be 1 DPS. I do apologise. There can only be 1 DPS per premises.
Sorry, Chair, can I just ask another question?
Yeah. Are you finished, Councillor Kumar?
Yes, I mean, I know there's only 1 DPS on any one premises, but now that we know that he's involved in his other businesses as well, it's important to establish that he would be the one on this premises for the time being.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. I can confirm that.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Munro.
Yeah, hi. The gentleman, the partner, I forget his name, sorry, indicated that this is a troubled area could you just explain to me, how do you know this is a troubled area, and what are the troubles?
When I sign a lease and I visit to that place, I saw two policemen stay there. I opened the shutter and view the shop. The policeman came and he spoke with me, and he was explain me how this area and what business you gonna run on here. I say to him, we are gonna do English groceries and some other groceries and fresh vegetables and stuff, which additionally we're gonna run the money transfer and phone repair shop.
And
after me, Pradap and Pradap Mrs. discussed to plan to open a off license as well inside, because we have some experience on the other side.
So what's the troubled area? I mean, you talked about troubled area. I want to understand.
Yes, that's the thing I'm telling you. How do I know? Which is the policeman explained me this is a troubled area.
So what did he tell you was troubled area about it?
Which is the wrong people are drinking too much and staying there and misbehavior. That's all he explained me. I didn't ask anything much because I don't need it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
It's Kerry again, Peter Kerry. Can I just ask one more question to the applicant, please?
yes, please. Yeah. Ask a question, Karisma.
Thank you. This is to the applicant. How are you going to not, whilst operating, how will you deal with sort of like the street drinkers and people causing antisocial behaviour, obviously in the shop or outside the shop? How are you going to deal with the street drinkers if they come in? Have you done a risk assessment, or what's your thoughts on that?
Okay, there are two things, which is we gonna do some security our shop with the cameras and other stuff, and also some restrictions of the selling product.
Sorry, can you just repeat that? Sorry, you broke up.
You said you asked me how to control that people, right?
Yes. How will you or your staff deal with the street drinkers when they come in, or if they're causing antisocial behaviour outside?
Straight away, we gonna say, we gonna put one notice outside for the notice or something, like, because I was already discussed with one of the other experienced guy. We can stop them we can stop the people. They can't come in to buy alcohol and something in my shop. You understand?
Yes, thank you.
This is Mark here. Okay. Any more questions? I want to ask a question to the applicant. My question to the applicant is, how would you make sure that underage children have not been used to buy alcohol at early hours in the mornings or late evenings, late nights?
No, it's underage mean it's a challenge to. I know about the challenge 25. Suppose someone come, it look like even 25 also. I can ask the ID, even proper ID like a passport or license like that. Another one, we're not going to open the shop before the license time. Even before we planning to open the hours is 6 o'clock, but even the license going to be 8 o'clock, then we're not going to open 6 o'clock. We're opening on the license timing only, because when I open earlier, maybe some people can come and ask the alcohol from us. I don't want to do. Then if we say no, even maybe we say no, then arguments come. That's why I want to open on the licensing hours. One thing. Another one, like. Before you asking from him, how are you going to stop this thing? Stop things mean whoever that area, even front of there, It is before last year, no benches over there. It is recently only council make the bench over there. People are sitting there. Whoever sitting on the bench and ringing there, I can tell them, you guys sitting over there, then you can't buy from us. Another one, they buying only single cans. But single cans I'm not allowed to sell anyway on the new license. That is not going to affect me. Another one, someone making me rubble, then I can call to police and I can ban from them. Then they're not going to come back to my shop again. Then
I'm not going to sell.
I'm not going to sell to them also. Even one thing I want to tell you, madam, one person is come to my shop and making trouble, then I need to lose the customer from other side, like a vegetable buyer, maybe some grocery buyer, chocolate buyers, maybe children want to buy crepes. I want to lose that sale. Then I'm not going to allow to someone make the trouble from my shop.
Right. Okay. The next question to you is, it is a long question, but I'll speak it very, very slowly so that you can understand. Your solicitor has already talked about the cumulative impact. We have a problem with the street drinkers in Hanwell area, particularly at the clock tower. And we have now introduced to special policies under cumulative impact in certain areas in Ealing. And Hanwell is one of them. Do you think having all hours open premises for off sale of alcohol, street drinkers does not or would not have rise in antisocial behavior and environmental problems? If there are, how would you deal with it?
How could we deal it? We can stop
You will
selling
deal
them.
with, madam, even normally one person, it is a small shop, we are two people in the shop, then if someone come, even we can notice the people like, okay, somebody who comes, who our regular.
Excuse me, is it Mr. Pakiraja?
Yeah.
All right, okay. I thought it was Mr. Thanusikan.
No, it is me, Pakiraja. Sorry?
Carry on, listening to you.
Yeah, on that situation, we can see whoever our regular customer who will make trouble, this and this, then we can tell them to avoid to, even mainly when we stop selling the strong beer, they're not going to come to our store. I believe that.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they are the strong, the whoever sitting outside. One more main thing, madam, when we open the shop, they're not going to sitting on there because that's a blind board now. That's why they're sitting there.
And doing misbehaviors.
And when we open, even last night, I'm working on the shop. I fill up the grocery, English grocery and some Asian grocery there. That time until 1:30, I will be in the shop that time. Even because of we working in the shop, yesterday nobody sitting on there. But when we went to the shop for working, that time 3-4 people are sitting. When we are there, they move already there. Because when no one there is a blind board, is a dark area, then they start sitting and they start drinking and sleeping. This kind of, we have things going there.
Right.
Chair, I have a question, please.
Yes, Council Kumar, yeah.
My question refers to, I think this is for Andrea, the solicitor. Under the new schedule, the operating schedule that you sent in, you've mentioned the CCTV will be retained for the 31 days, which is, normal. But you also said that that it was going to be a retention, they would be retained for a period of 3 months. So that's not.
Yeah, no.
So could you? clarify that, yeah.
Sure, sorry. What I was saying was it has the ability to retain for 3 months. So if needed, it could, normally police ask for the condition that it be retained for either 28, 30 or 31 days. That's the norm. But it has got the ability to retain images for longer if necessary. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah. It just wasn't in your latest schedule, so I just thought I will question that, because I heard you in your statement you had mentioned the 3 months.
Yeah, I can apologise. Mr. Rushton sent all the documents into the council. Oh, sorry, am I talking over you? I do apologise.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Mr. Rushton sent all the documents into the council, and I've had further conversations with the applicant and his business partner this morning. So perhaps that's why I came to the committee with that.
That's fine, no problem.
Anybody else want to ask any questions to the applicant? Shall we move on? Right, the next I would like to ask the responsible authorities to represent their case, please. Is it Robert Deere?
PC Houston, shall I, for the police, do my representation first?
PC Houston, yes, please. PC Houston, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Hanwell Convenience is located on a busy main road with residential properties in close proximity to it. It is in a special policy area, as we've already discussed. Outside of the premises are large concrete planters with benches attached to them. This area is known to frequent street drinkers. Since July 2020, there has been a spike in antisocial behaviour occurring in and around this area, consisting of mainly street drinkers situating themselves on the benches opposite the Duke of York pub and the premise which this premises licence application is for. This happens from as early as 7 AM until late in the evening. The individuals usually arrive with alcohol, which is shop-bought alcohol, and they drink throughout the day. This usually ends up in resulting with the individuals passing out in the middle of the public highway, drunk or on the benches mentioned above. With street drinking comes associated antisocial behaviours such as urinating, defecating, verbal remarks made towards female and young children, and more concerning, some public indecency. The Metropolitan Police object to this application outright on the basis that the area is well known for street drinkers who already congregate on the benches outside of the premise, and that if this premises is given a premises licence, it will only increase antisocial behaviour in the area and will lure more street drinkers into the area rather than deterring them. Therefore, the police make our representations to the application and object under the 4 licensing objectives.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question, Chair.
Who is it?
Andrea Forrest.
Andrea Forrest, yeah.
I have a question. Sorry, is it Vicky Hewison?
Yes, it is, yes.
Right. You said you objected outright to the application, but halfway down in your representation, you said that to bring the business hours in line with the core hours, I proposed the following. So you've proposed some hours, which have now been agreed.
If the licensing committee are minded to grant the application, then yes, I would be. You're
happy with the conditions?
And the additional conditions that have been proposed would be if the licensing committee is minded to grant the licence, yes.
Right, I just wanted to check that because obviously I didn't have that conversation with you. That was Mr. Rushton. So you're aware that those hours have now been changed. We agree, provided obviously it's down to the committee to make that decision. But you're not objecting outright now. You are saying that if the committee are minded, you are happy with the conditions and those hours.
Yes, but I still object to the licence, to the premise being granted a licence due to the street drinking problem that we have and the antisocial behaviour in the area.
Right, sorry, I need to clarify that. So on the one hand, you're objecting outright, but on the other hand, you're saying, well, if he meets these conditions, I'm happy.
No,
so,
I'm saying that if the licensing committee grant the license, then I will accept obviously those conditions and the hours, but I'm objecting outright because of the street drinking problem and the antisocial behaviour. So I'm just saying, if the licensing, because obviously they can not agree with me and grant a licence. So those conditions are obviously suitable if they are minded to grant the licence, and also the core hours.
Right, thanks, Vicky. Can I also ask, the benches have been mentioned outside quite a few times. Are those benches like stuck there? Do they have to stay there? Are they something that can be moved?
They're attached. They're attached to concrete planters, so the bench is built in concrete in the big round planters that are outside. So at the moment, yes, they are unfortunately staying.
Yeah, just from experience, I know that some councils have moved benches because of this reason. Do you agree that like a boarded up premises attracts crime and disorder, or can attract crime?
To be honest, when it was open as a florist, there was always street drinkers on those benches.
No, I'm not on about when it was open, but do you agree that like boarded up premises can attract like antisocial behaviour, crime and disorder?
It's a very small premise and there are lots of premises around it, so I don't think so. If there was maybe a row of shops that were all boarded up, then potentially yes, but not where that is, not in that location.
So you don't think if this shop was open with cameras on those benches, that would assist the police?
I don't think it will make a difference, to be honest, because we have CCTV in the area anyway, that's Ealing Councils.
Okay. Can I then ask what the police have done to actually move these people on under the PSPO? Do you know about the PSPO and when it came in? And
I don't off the top of my head know when it came in. I can obviously find out. But there are local safer neighbourhoods teams who work continually moving on street drinkers, issuing them with community protection notices. And I think it might be detailed in the statement by Jay Thompson, who is one of the safer neighbourhood officers, but it has been a problem for a number of years.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, understood. Do you agree that there is other legislation to deal with street drinkers? It's not just the licensees in the area who are responsible, that they could come in from outside of the area with the alcohol, or they could come from down the road with the alcohol. Do you agree?
They could do, yes, definitely.
And have you found that it's been attributed to any of the premises in the area?
Has what, sorry?
The alcohol that you've had to dispose of, or whatever you've done under the PSPO, have you found that it has been attributed, the sales have been attributed to one of the off licenses in the area?
I can't answer that, to be honest.
Okay.
I think we need to move on. We know the area very well, and we need to move on.
Please, it's Kerry, PC Kerry Smart. From my understanding, I don't believe the application that Vicky has agreed the application with the agent. That's my understanding. Vicky, correct me if I'm wrong, but nothing has been agreed between the police and the applicant.
I think what she said was if she was happy. Sorry.
Harry, your voice was breaking up. I couldn't hear it properly. What did you say?
I'd just like to make sure that it's clear that the police haven't actually agreed anything with the applicant and the agent. Obviously, proposed conditions and hours were proposed, but nothing. The police have not agreed anything with the applicant as yet. I just need to make that clear.
Yeah, as already stated, I did speak to the agent, Mr. Rushton, on Friday, and I did say that obviously I was still objecting. Withdraw my representation, but if the licensing committee are mindful to grant the license, then they are good conditions, and obviously we've agreed the core hours part of it as well if the licensing committee grant the license.
Thank you, Vicky.
Yeah, but I think we haven't received any confirmation from the police as yet whether they agreed with your proposed conditions or not.
Do you want me to answer that or the police to answer that, Chair?
I think I'm just letting you know that where we are at the moment. I just learned from you that it's stating in your statement that your recommendations you have agreed with the police, but we haven't received any confirmation from our police.
Yeah, I think Vicky has clarified it. The way Vicky said it, I think I perhaps put it wrongly across because I didn't have the conversation. As I understand it, she said that if the committee were minded to grant it, then these hours and the extra conditions would satisfy the police. That's she put it in the correct way.
Yeah. May I ask Vicky now, PC Houston, to clarify this issue?
Yeah, so I had the conversation with Mr. Rushton on Friday because I did get an updated operating schedule with 5 additional, I think it was 5 additional conditions.
Yeah.
At the 11th of November.
Right.
And I had a conversation with him and I said that I was objecting, my representation still stands, but if the licensing committee were mindful to grant a premises license, then they would be good conditions to have. I would be happy with those conditions.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hours.
It is clear. Thank you very much. Yeah. Any panel members, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just one we touched base on a bit earlier, but I've just seen it in the statements as well. How many premises are there in the area? Is it 6 or is it 10 of licenses in the area?
I think sure. Maybe Bob Deere might be better positioned for that one.
Yeah, he's got 10. Yeah, he said 10, and then the Safe Neighborhood, I think Jay Thompson's statement said 6. So just to clarify that as a...
Sorry, Councillor Kumar, there's in fact 10. I think he meant in the immediate vicinity. Obviously, we normally go 250 metres around, but there are 10.
There are 10. Is it Mr. Deere?
Yes, it was, Chair.
All right. Just, thank you. Right. Do we have any other authority? Yes, Councillor Kumar. Are you happy with your questions, or do you?
Fine. You say.
Sorry, Councillor Manra.
I can't hear you. Have you muted yourself? I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Mr. Deere, I just wanted to confirm, are you saying there's 10 premises within 250 metres of this premises?
That is correct, Councillor, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay. So shall we then move on to the Mr. Robert Deere? Have you represent your case?
I will have a brief statement, Chair. My computer is going to restart in 5 minutes and it won't let me come out of that. Yes, Chair, I made this representation as this premises is in the special priority area, newly designated since July of 2020. And in my representation, it mentions there at 1.38 that studies have shown that the number of off licenses in an area is a factor of prevalence of street drinking. Local data shows that there are instances of alcohol-related crime and antisocial behaviour occurring in parks, open space in the borough in close proximity to off-licensed premises. As I mentioned, in a 250 metre radius, there are 10 off licenses and 3 for on sales. I did attach a statement from the dedicated ward officer, PC Jay Thompson, which he's shown some pictures from our CCTV of the street drinkers. Those street drinkers were there long before those benches were ever thought up and placed there. It is my representation that that you stick to the policy and refuse this application in its entirety. I'm obviously open for any questions.
Right, thank you. Any questions to Robert Deere?
Yes, Chair, Andrea Forrest, I have.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Andrea.
Mr. Deere, you say you want to refuse it outright. There's no discussion there, obviously. Can I ask you why you didn't engage with the process that you meant to do under the Licensing Act in having the conversations, or at least engaging with Mr. Rushton, as the police did?
Yes, I can. Mr. Rushton sent a message asking me to contact him last Thursday. I received that message late on Thursday. My office number there is on the top of this representation, which directs immediately to my mobile. I've received no calls from Mr. Rushton. I was off Friday doing COVID duties Monday and Tuesday, and here we are on Wednesday. So it wasn't, I didn't want to engage with him. I read his submission yesterday that he sent.
And you weren't prepared to have any discussion or even respond to his email, because I believe somebody else sent the email to you asking you to contact him, somebody from licensing.
Yes, that's how I got.
Yeah.
That's where I was notified. I didn't get an email from Mr. Rushton. I got an email from one of their licensing officers.
Mm-hmm. So what evidence are you basing your outright refusal on? What have you brought to the table today to base your outright refusal on? We know it's a special policy area, but special policy isn't the end of it. You know, there has to be evidence and statistics. Have you brought any evidence with you today? Because I haven't seen any.
No, the evidence was already produced prior to the consultation that I didn't take part in, and the fact that it was delegated as a new special priority area because of the problems in the area, not only from evidence from myself of the, as you called them earlier, bad off licenses, that two have already been reviewed. One is being reviewed again, or in fact, two of them are being reviewed again. One lost his, it was revoked, sorry, and he's appealing. And the second one comes up next week. We've heard in my representation from one of the police officers who's got day-to-day involvement in the area, and it's a rebuttable presumption. Yes, I agree, but also for you to prove, and obviously I would say that a lot of the submission that has been put forward by Mr. Rushton and the applicant, be quite, it's standards that I expect from all licensees, and I think we need something exceptional. Just having CCTV and not serving the street drinkers is not really evidence of anything exceptional.
Okay, can I ask what you would consider exceptional then, please?
Well, I would like to say a good, well, no, I wouldn't even use the previous experience of an applicant.
So what do you think is exceptional?
I'm not here to put forward suggestions for your client to agree to. You know,
that is the whole point. I'm sorry, Mr. Deere. That is the whole point of the licensing process.
Yeah, and the policy says,
sorry,
refuse all. I'm answering your question. Sorry, refuse all applications in a special priority area unless there are exceptional circumstances. It doesn't even mention exceptional circumstances. Sorry.
So you think because there's a special policy, that's the only reason that it should be refused? You don't?
No, street drinking problem in the area.
Street drinking, and is that attributed to my client's premises?
No, because he's not there, is he?
Exactly. So
but it is attributed.
Is it attributed to the other premises in the area? The street drinking, is it attributed to the other premises on that street?
I've attributed 2 off licenses on that street.
Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? Why haven't you brought it to the committee today? We've put forward all the conditions that we are prepared to offer, which, by the way, the police think are, you know, a good operating schedule.
I didn't say it wasn't a good operating schedule.
Sorry, I haven't finished. You're not prepared to discuss anything prior to the application going in. You're just sitting there and saying, I outright refuse it. I think it should be outright refused because it's in a special policy area and there's nothing exceptional. What do you consider is exceptional then?
Right, to answer your first question, the premises attributed to the. I don't know if you can hear me now. My computer's gone. It's been restarted.
Yes, I can hear. Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't, yeah. It's been.
He's there, but
Dear, now we can't hear you, Mr. Dear.
Mr. Dear, are you there? No, I think connection is gone. Yeah.
Right, try and log back in.
Right, right.
Go, Missy.
Yeah.
I can see one. There's a box with Mr. Dear's name on it, Bob Dear's name on it, but I don't know if he can hear us. We can't hear him.
No, we can't. Yeah.
He might be trying to log in on another device.
Right.
Chair, I think he's gone from the screen as well.
Right.
Maybe we should move on.
And
I'd like to ask him more questions. I'm sorry I haven't finished, Chair.
Sorry, it's Kerry.
Hi.
I've just got a message from Bob. I'm just going to read it. Bear with me just 1 second.
All right.
Bear with me. Yeah, Chair, it's Kerry again. He's just said that he's trying to reboot his computer. That's where he's having the problems.
Right.
So he's just rebooting now, and then he'll be back on.
We all have problems with this new technology.
Yeah, we do.
I know. If only it was that simple, hey.
We can all mute in the meantime while we wait for Mr. Dear to log back in.
Right.
Could we have a comfort break there for 2 minutes?
Okay.
Shall we have 2 minutes comfort break?
Okay.
Okay then. Yeah. Let's have 2 minutes break here.
Please remember to put your cameras off and to go on mute, please.
Thank you.
I want to do it. I don't know then how to get back.
Okay. All right.
Great problem earlier on.
All right. Okay.
Hi, Carrie. Good to see you. We had 2 minutes of break. Okay.
Cornelia, you might need to get someone to mute their
Yes, that's what I was hoping
Yeah,
she
I
would
think.
do it, but I'm trying to see if I can do it for her.
Okay.
Mute it for her. Yeah, I've muted it for her.
Ah, well done.
I see. Bob, can you hear me? It's Cornelia. Bob, dear. Oh, I don't think he can.
Cornelia, I can see him on the participant list, but
That's why I spoke, because I could see him and he's got a microphone symbol
that's
next
right.
to his name.
Was before. Oh, the applicant's left now. Bob, can you hear us?
I think no, because he may have been logged on with 2 devices at one point earlier on.
Right.
The applicant comes back as well.
Yeah. On the invite button on the left-hand side at the bottom, if you invite someone, does that add them?
Where have you? Oh, I'm looking. Oh, yes, I see the invite button now. Okay, let me see.
Unless Bob can hear us now, because I just saw it flicker. I don't know if that meant he was back on, but you might be able to invite him in like that.
Yes, that's true. Well spotted, Anjali. I've clicked on it. It's come up with a whole. I might have to type his name in.
Yeah. Should come up with a directory.
Yes, let me press enter. It's come up with a directory, but I haven't. His name hasn't been come up. His name hasn't come up. I don't think he's got because this would only just send the details to him. So that's not the problem. He's got the meeting details, but anyway, it's a good suggestion.
Flickering. Oh, and Bob, can you hear us? Oh, Hattie's left.
Yes, Hattie messaged me to say. You see, this is only where it says invite someone, it's just sending them the link again.
Oh, okay. Unless.
Let me allow Hattie back in. You see, Bob's already got the link, but anyway, I'll send it to him again just so it's in the forefront of his messages.
Bob said, I can hear you clearly, but have no video or mic.
So the options at the bottom of your screen, not the very bottom, but the bottom of the Zoom page, if you see what I mean, the bottom of the Zoom page, there's the mic icon. So if you click the little arrow next to that, you should have some options to turn the mic on. I mean, I'm using my headset, so I've picked the headset option. Normally, it asks you to turn on computer audio. Computer audio is a good option.
Bob, are you using your phone or your Surface?
I don't know if this helps, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just at the bottom of my screen, there's a mute button and a start video button, and I have to click both of those.
Yes.
At the bottom of the screen.
Bob to, yeah.
I'm not very techy either.
I mean, his icons are visible. The video and the mic icons are visible. Bob, you might have to play around with the mic options. I'll probably leave the video on for now, but the mic options, depending on what setup you're using, if you're using the headset or
I don't know if it's different using an iPhone, Cornelia. Is it the same setup? I don't know. Might
be. Okay, the applicant is coming back in to the meeting. Councillor Cordia, you'll need to unmute yourself. If that's okay.
I'm just okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
hello, can you hear me?
Okay, now we can. Yes, Bob.
Excellent. Unfortunately, the video is not working. I've had to come back in again, so apologies.
Okay.
Tell me if panel members are back. Councillor Munro, are you back?
Yeah, yes, I'm there.
Right.
I've always been there.
Councillor Kumar, has she left or she's still in the meeting? Can't see her.
She may be on a break.
All right. Shall we wait for? Yes.
Yeah, there she is.
Councillor Kumar is back. Yeah. Okay. Let's start our meeting again.
Just hold on a second.
Can I just check to see if Vicky's back?
Vicky.
Yes, she is.
I'm here.
Okay.
So we are saying Haiti has gone. She has to go.
She's back.
I'm here. Sorry, my computer shut down.
All right.
I've logged into another laptop. I'm here.
Right. Okay, you're back. Right. So
I think Ms. Forrest was saying she had questions for Bob Deere.
Who else? Okay.
Yes. Is it okay, Chair, if I?
Yes, Ms. Forrest, yes. Carry on, please.
Can you hear me, Mr. Deere?
I can indeed. Unfortunately, I don't want to touch any more buttons as in case I lose it all again.
Yeah.
I understand. I have the same problem sometimes. Yeah, I just want to know if you're aware of when the operating schedule came in, on the top of the operating schedule, it does say you can contact Mr. Rushton if you have anything to discuss. You said before we went off that you were looking for an exceptional circumstances. Well, first of all, that isn't what the policy says. It doesn't have to be exceptional circumstances. What it has to be is an off license that isn't, well, it isn't just an off license, it's a convenience store, but a premises that isn't going to add to the cumulative impact of what's going on in the area. So are you aware of what the actual cumulative impact policies do and what you can do under the cumulative impact policy?
Obviously, all the policies are different from wherever you go. I appreciate that, and worded differently. What my point was that, yes, there is a rebuttable presumption that applications for the grant of variation of premises licence, which are likely to add to an existing community impact, will normally be refused or subject to certain limitations. And I've put it in my my representation, and I still stand that another off licence in that area will have a negative impact on that policy.
So what is currently the negative impact? What is causing the street drinking, do you think?
Alcohol.
What kind of alcohol? What strength of alcohol?
I don't know. I've never stopped a street drinker and seen what they drink. Unfortunately, in the borough, especially down the end, I say we've got 10 off licences. The most of their beer is Polish beer.
Okay, which is it tends to be strong, doesn't it? Polish beer. It tends to be kind of
It
7, 8,
9%.
9. Yeah, 7, 8.
5%.
Yeah, it's quite high. I am aware of that. I deal with these all over the country, and a lot of these problems are caused by such high strength beers. So you're fully aware that my client isn't going to be selling those.
What, he's not selling Polish beer?
He's not selling anything above 5.5.
Yeah, and I say that some Polish beers or strong beers start at 5%. You just have to drink more of them instead of drinking 2 of them, of the 9%.
So that would be the same for any beer, really, wouldn't it? If they're a lower strength, you would have to drink more of them. So I'm not sure I agree with your representation. Well, what I'm saying is that he's not going to be selling the drinks that are likely to attract the street drinkers. I know from experience that street drinkers are attracted to single can sales, maybe miniatures. The council have got it right in their policy, the things that they're restricting. My client knows that. He's agreed not to sell in that way. So would you agree that street drinkers tend to go for the high ABV alcohol and the single cans specifically?
The first point, no, not entirely. The second point, the reason behind they buy 1 can is because if the police come along, if it's a controlled drinking zone or whatever, they will be able to tip all the cans away, and they don't want to lose 4 cans or whatever. That's where the 1 can came from.
From my experience, that's not the case. It's they like a strong can of lager and they can't afford any more, so they buy 1 can, the strongest they can get, wherever they can get it from. So I disagree with you on that as well. I've had a message from Mr. Rushton about when he tried to contact you. He said that he sent you an email on the 11th of November, and he asked you if you were available for a phone discussion. You've never seen that email, have you?
I don't think I have. I saw the one that was forwarded on to me. Was that the one that was forwarded on to me by?
No, there were 2. There were 2.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So sorry, it doesn't matter. If you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it. But again, back to what I was asking before. Are you aware that a CIA or a CIP or a special policy area is not the be all and end all? That is not the end of it. There are other considerations to be met. Do you know that, you should be looking at applications on their individual merits.
Which I do, yes.
Okay, so you've looked at this one on its individual merits and you've refused it outright. So what do you think it needs to actually comply? What do you think? You said it needs to be exceptional. So what you're saying is there would be a license that could be granted in the area, but it has to be exceptional, even though the guidance doesn't say it has to be exceptional. What are you saying you want to see on a license for it to be granted in a special policy area?
Sorry, Chair, can I intervene? I think it's for the panel to make a decision. We are listening to people's representations, and I'm not sure why the solicitor for the applicant seems to be working out a refusal from a representative who's making representations. It's for the panel to make that decision. It's for us to just hear them and then come to a conclusion. I'm not sure I'm happy to watch a debate between the two of them around who's refusing and who's accepting. They're not doing either.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Monroe. I agree with you, but eventually we have to make a decision. We will make a decision here. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Chair. I was just trying to elaborate on why there was no discussion had and why it's an outright refusal, because it shouldn't be like that.
We heard your questions and responses, Bob Deers, to you, and we need to move on now. Shall we move on?
May I ask another question, please? It's the police officer that's, it's Bob has attached a witness statement from a police officer, Jay Thompson. Am I asking Jay or am I asking Bob Deere? I don't mind, but it's attached to, he's appended to Bob's representation.
Is he in attendance? Jay is in attendance?
No, Chair, he's not.
No, he's not. Right. Mr. Deere, are you happy to take the question from Andrea?
Obviously, I'll try, Chair. Obviously, there might be some things I won't be able to answer out of that officer's statement that he sent me.
Yeah, because he is not in attendance. I don't think so. It's fair for Robert Deere to answer all those questions.
No, sorry, Chair. It's not a difficult question. It's actually in the witness statement. I just want it's attached. The witness statement is appended to his representation. Yeah. So I just wanted to ask him. Well, just to point out that the police officer put that it was a high strength, cheap alcohol ranging from Polish beers to ciders, and once in possession, they gather. Sorry, is it? I can't see that. Manuel, what is it? So the police officers made it quite clear here that it's the cheap alcohol, high strength. However, you said it wasn't that. It was any alcohol. So you've appended this to your statement. Why is that then? To your representation, sorry.
Yeah, because that's his opinion. What I say is, we're talking about a special priority area, which is
I understand.
and alcohol related problems in that area. You've heard it. You've seen from the police that are in attendance today that what these people do once they've had a drink, and you know, if they can't get high strength beer, they'll go and they'll drink anything. You even said earlier.
No, but this is a dedicated ward officer that actually patrols that area. So that's why I was just wondering why you appended this to your statement, but you to your representation, but don't agree with it. That's all I was asking.
I didn't agree with it.
I think, Mr. Deere, we have to move on to Andrea. I think you have asked all these questions about the Polish beer and the high strength alcohol and the low strength alcohol. We need to move on.
Okay, Chair, I'll go with whatever you said.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Chair, can I just intervene for a moment, if I may? If Ms. Forrest has further questions.
Who is speaking?
Ms. Zeb, Chair, legal advisor.
All right. Okay. Yes, Hetty. Yeah.
Yes, Chair. If Miss Forrest has further questions for Mr. Deere, she should be allowed to continue to ask those questions. What I would say, is that perhaps some of the questions that Miss Forrest is directing towards Mr. Deere may not be appropriate for him to answer in view of the fact that the officer's statement that he appendix to his statement is not available to answer those questions directly. So we've got to take that statement as is within his statement. And I don't think, again, as Councillor Manro pointed out, perhaps that the questions need to be more about this premises and Mr. Deere's statement in relation to this premises only, rather than his general view on the policy in its entirety, essentially. If there are any further questions, Chair, she should be allowed to ask them.
Thank you very much, for your clarification. That's what I meant, because that person who has sent us a written statement and he is not in attendance this meeting, and it wasn't fair for Robert Deere to answer all these questions. I didn't object to Andrea asking all questions on Mr. Deere's statement.
No, Chair.
So I think.
Yes, and Ms. Forrest will have the opportunity to close at the end of the hearing, where she can make any representations that she wants on behalf of her client on the observations that she's taking away from the statements and the attached statement.
Yeah, all right. So could I ask you, Andrea, have you got any more questions? I won't really take any more. I won't allow you to take any more questions. I think it's clearly he has given you all answers.
I will save them for my closing submissions, Chair.
Shall we move on?
Chair, question. Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Councillor.
Yeah. Okay. No, my question is also related to the statement by Jay Thompson, and if it's possible for Bob Deere to give me a response, it's fair enough. But it relates to the comment or the statement that says that the current off licenses will become more competitive and lower the prices of alcohol. So the persons causing issues would then stay in the area and they'd be able to buy more alcohol for less money. So this would attract persons from outside the area to come and buy alcohol, and then hence, have a detrimental effect on the local community that's already suffering. I mean, what evidence is there to actually say that the prices are different? Does it mean that prices are different in the current off licenses, and that way the competition would arise? I hope the question's kind of clear.
Councillor Kumar, I appreciate you are raising the same question. I think I made it clear that person who has sent us a written statement, he is not in attendance. Nobody can answer all these questions, and we should move on. Thank you very much for your question.
Chair, it might be a question that Mr. Deere can answer. Perhaps he should be given the opportunity to answer it.
Well, I agree with you. I think we should move on, because the report has written by the other person who is dealing with these cases day and night. But Robert Deere is a council employee. He can't answer on his behalf, on the third person's behalf. What would you say? What would you advise?
Chair, could I just say something, if the legal advisor doesn't mind? If you're putting in a representation, and I'm sure your legal advisor will agree with me, and you're appending a statement to it, it's part of your representation. And if that person isn't here to answer the questions, it isn't very fair to the applicant.
I don't disagree with that.
Thank you.
And that's why I raised it.
Sorry?
Yeah, maybe
Chair, I can answer.
from Mr. Deer. Maybe we should hear from Mr. Deer if he can answer.
All right, Mr. Deer, what would you say?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. Yes, I've attached his statement to my representation. It doesn't mean that all his opinions are shared by me, like, well,
Yeah.
which I'm sure everybody would agree. Like, for instance, he said there's less off licence in the area. I know there's more off licence in the area. And in answer to the question about the pricing, you know, some off licences in the area have got conditions that say they have to be price marked, and it wouldn't be a day that I went and visited one of those off licences and found that they weren't all individually priced. So that's a breach of conditions. Yes, there is competitive. It is competitive out there, and the reason they don't price their beers, all their beers, is because so they can sell them cheaper. So in my opinion, would it lead to a bit of a price war? I would say it's already happening anyway. People already undercut each other. But that's not the main reason why, or that's not why I say refuse this application. I say it's going against our policy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Bob. Thank you. So I would like to invite questions from the floor to the applicant if there are any questions.
Chair, I think we've just heard from the second objector, Mr. Deer. So if there's no questions for Mr. Deer, I think those are the only objectors now. They've all been heard and questions have been asked. So in terms of your process, we will move, you then move on to closing for the applicant and then the objectors, but you may want to just check that nobody else has any questions left for Mr. Deer.
All right, thank you. Any questions, panel? Any questions? No, I can't hear anyone.
No, Chair. Andrea.
No. Right, thank you. Shall we move on?
Yes,
Yeah.
Chair. Shall we move on?
Right. Okay, thank you. Let's have a summing up. I'll invite Robert Deer to sum up.
Thank you, Chair. I will keep it short and sweet. I stand by my end of representation, and especially that this will have a negative impact on the area. The policy, this area was adopted new. This is a new special priority area, and it was adopted for reasons that there was enough supporting evidence to prove that off licenses were having a negative impact in the area. That's why I say it should be refused. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I will invite the applicant.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
It's normally the applicant that sums up at the end, in my experience. Can I just...
If I may, you'd need to go to the other objectors, which would be PC, Vicky, Hewson.
Right, thank you very much. PC, Vicky?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've submitted our representation. There is antisocial behaviour caused by the street drinkers in the area, and we feel another licensed premise will only contribute to further antisocial behaviour outside of the premise and the surrounding area. The premise is also situated next door to a public house, and once it's operating normally, there are concerns that when the patrons leave, they'll go next door to buy alcohol and then drink the alcohol on the streets. It's also concerning that the applicant has not disclosed the information that he runs other licensed premises on the borough so that the police can conduct their due diligence. And there are also concerns with the applicant's wife working there, having to deal with the street drinkers. The applicant has failed to demonstrate how he will not contribute towards the antisocial behaviour in the area, and the police are not confident that he will be able to operate whilst promoting the licensing objectives. The location of the licensed premises is in a special policy area, and the police feel it is down to the licensing committee to determine whether the premises licence is granted or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll call the applicants.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, of course, it is up to the committee to decide whether this licence should be granted. We have done everything in our power to have the conversations with the authorities. As you've heard from the police, they did engage in the process, and we have had conversations which suggest that these conditions are comprehensive, that we've offered with the added conditions. And we've also complied with the council's licensing policy statement in terms of the hours and the conditions on the licence. In your actual licensing policy at 2.82, it says availability of high strength cheap alcohol, in particular high strength lager and white cider in the number of off licenses scenarios sustaining factor for street drinking. And often the street drinking areas on the borough coincide with the areas that have a high number of off licenses, but it refers at 2.83 to the sale of cheap high strength alcohol. So generally, it's about cheap, high-strength alcohol. Our client won't be selling cheap, high-strength alcohol. He won't be selling any high-strength alcohol. And there is actually a minimum price per ABV anyway, so he won't be selling under the legal required price for the alcohol anyway. It isn't an off-license per se. It is a convenience store. As I've said, there are other things happening there. It's not just, oh, let's just get some alcohol and let's start competing with all these other off licenses. Yes, he needs to compete with the premises in the area, but it is a convenience store first and foremost. It's already stocked up as a convenience store. It's got a 15-year lease, so either way, the client is going to run that shop. But in terms of adding that little extra 15% maximum of alcohol, that is going to help obviously boost sales, because people go in to buy a basket of things. They don't just go to buy the alcohol. They go in to buy, they might go in and buy a bottle of wine with their daily shopping. You know, they might exchange some money, whatever. It's not just, this is not an off license per se. So I just want to get that out of people's heads, because I do think that it's been really really been emphasised, and it just you need to realise it's convenience as well. So what I will say, excuse me, my screen's gone off, do bear with me. It's about the CIP policy, which is really, really important. But I need to get back into my screen. So there are limitations on special policies relating to the cumulative impact, but it does say at 14.44 of the statutory guidance, this is imperative, a CIA, which is a cumulative impact assessment, whatever you want to call it, special policy, should never be absolute. So statements of licensing policy should always allow for the circumstances of each application to be considered properly, and for applications that are unlikely to add to the cumulative impact on the licensing objectives to be granted. And then it goes on to say about relevant representations and dealing with those. But it basically says each premises must be considered on their own merits. So it also says that they must be evidence-based, and we haven't seen any evidence, although I'm not disputing what the authorities are saying. We haven't seen any empirical evidence here today backing up what they are saying. We have put our evidence forward. The committee needs to consider their evidence and our evidence. Our evidence is that he's got several shops. He knows what he's doing. He's not brand new to this. He knows that there's a problem in the area because the policeman spoke to him about it. He knows about the street drinkers. He's not selling to the street drinkers. He's complied with everything in your policy. He's complied with what the police wanted. I mean, I would also draw your attention to your own licensing policy at 2.84 for the purposes of your legal advisor. She can advise you on this. At 2.33, where licensing authorities recognise that the licensing law is not the primary mechanism for general control of nuisance and antisocial behaviour by individuals once they are away from the licensed premises, and therefore beyond the control of the licensee. And many questions were put to my client. One in particular was, how are you going to control these street drinkers? Well, it's not his job to control all the street drinkers out there. It's his job to make sure that he does a good job to ensure that he doesn't sell to street drinkers, and any street drinkers that are hanging outside his shop, that he has a word with them or he contacts the police to do their job. There's a PSPO in place as I understand it, but the police don't seem to know what's happened under the PSPO. Have any people been moved on? Has alcohol been taken off them? We didn't have any answers to that. So I would also ask the authority to look at 2.22 of your own licensing policy and 2.17. So another one, 2.8. It does say that for a premises in this kind of area, there's a rebuttable presumption that applications for the grant of variation or new premises licenses, which are likely to add, just bear in mind, likely to add to the cumulative impact, will normally be refused, or subject to certain limitations. If the committee are minded to put more limitations, more conditions on to ensure they are happy, then the applicant will accept that, as long as they are proportionate. So it says here, unless the applicant can demonstrate in the operating schedule, there'll be no negative cumulative impact on one or more of the licensing objectives. Well, I would say that working up and down the country, that this operating schedule is one of the most comprehensive I have seen. And I think that, particularly with the added conditions, it is very robust, it is very comprehensive. And I think that we've covered what's required in your own licensing policy. 2.14 talks about individual merits, so I won't go into that. You do know about that, but your legal advisor can elaborate on that further. In the guidance itself, at section 182, it says at 9.38, in determining the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in the overall interests of the local community, the licensing authority must give appropriate weight to revised guidance issued under section 182 of the Licensing Act, steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the representations, including supporting information presented by all the parties, the guidance and its own licensing policy statement. It then goes on to say at the guidance at 9.43, the authority's determination should be evidence-based, justified as being appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, and proportionate as to what it is intended to achieve. So I won't read all of that out, but 9.43 is also very, very important of the section 182 guidance. So basically, my client has come here today. He's got a legal team, a very knowledgeable team behind him who advised him on his application, who helped him with his operating schedule, who go on to continue advising him, who, as a solicitor's firm, I produce due diligence manuals and training. His training will be undertaken by the consultant, Mr. Ian Rushton, so that anybody who works there will be trained. He's got all the procedures in place, litter policy, he's got the refusals policy, he's got all the documents that are required for due diligence. He's got CCTV outside the shop. This can only assist the police, and I disagree that a boarded up premises is better than a premises with CCTV outside. Wholly disagree. And as I say, I work up and down the country, and that is one requirement. CCTV outside is important to the police. It can assist them. I don't want you to attribute all these problems in the area. I understand it's a special policy area, but look at all the problems in the area. What is being done? Don't blame all the local licensees. It's not necessarily the licensees. If it is, then deal with them. You can't use this to refuse an application from a very good operator with a good knowledge of licensed trade, with good experience, and you must make this decision based on its own merits. I urge you to grant this license. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair, for your patience.
So we have finished our submissions. Now the subcommittee and the legal advisor, including our staff, will retire to make a decision. It might take 15 to 20 minutes or half an hour for us to make a decision. Please, you have to wait for us.
No,
okay.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Can I just say, I believe there was another meeting set, well, I know another meeting was set up for the decision hearing, but
yeah,
that will be, sorry. Yeah, sorry, Cornelia, it is at 5 o'clock.
Yes, but obviously we've only just finished and the panel need to deliberate. So
yeah.
Do you want us just to stay on here then, Cornelia?
But because it's another room it's another meeting room. Okay, are you saying as an alternative you could just wait here?
Yeah.
And not use the other room at all?
Yeah.
Okay, if that would make things easier.
Yeah, if it makes it easier for you guys, we can just wait here whilst you make the decision.
So how would I mute myself?
So, Cornelia, where are we going?
We're going to the Microsoft Teams room.
I know.
The Teams room.
Can you mute me?
Yes, I will do that. I'll mute everybody. Yeah.
Okay, so we move to Microsoft Teams. Okay. All
yes,
right.
please.
We'll just wait here then, Cornelia.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.